informants. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes given the Justice Department until 5 p.m. last night to hand over more information about the reported use of FBI informants while investigating the Trump campaign and possible Russian connections. But, the Justice Department declined that request, meaning no dice. Ohio Republican Congressman Brad Wenstrup joins us. He does sit on the House Intelligence Committee. So, Congressman, here's the letter. This is to Nunes from the DOJ. It's signed by Stephen Boyd, Assistant Attorney General. And he cites the need to protect confidential human sources. Do you buy that explanation? And if so, why aren't you holding this in a closed session?
Well, first of all, I would agree that this is kind of a hoax. We've been playing this cat and mouse game with them for some time. We have the same level of clearance they do. We are in a position that we are to have oversight over this type of process, and they're keeping it from us. And so we keep targeting, and we get more and more specific on what we're asking for, and we will continue to do so. I do think we're getting closer, but it's very obvious, and I think obvious to the American people, that there must be a problem here if they're not letting those of us that have the authority to see these type of documents not see them. So we're going to dig further and further. I think we're getting closer and closer to the truth.
And they talk about confidential human sources in this letter. So in a way, isn't that a backhanded way of admitting or confirming that there were confidential human sources perhaps targeting the Trump campaign? Just the fact that they write that in this letter.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we want to know about. Who were they? And where did they actually go? And they give us a pretty broad, phony excuse as to why they can't answer the question. They can answer the question. Look, this thing is getting more and more obvious to the American people. The IG report that came out showed that there's tremendous bias within the agency. And you know what amazes me about that is that they were using their official phones for these texts. They must have felt comfortable enough that even their superiors wouldn't bother them. And nowhere in there is there a text that said, regardless of our political feelings, we have to do this in a fair manner and go about things in a fair manner. People are getting this, right? And so we're going to keep digging closer and closer, and the walls are closing in. But I would hope that Christopher Wray would be part of the cleanup and not part of a cover-up. And same with the Department of Justice.
You know what Peter Strzok is supposedly will probably say tomorrow behind closed doors? He'll say, well, those are my personal feelings to the women I was having an alleged affair with or whatever. And, it didn't interfere at all with my official duties. My official duties were neutral. I approached the investigation professionally, and my personal views had nothing to do with the execution of my professional responsibilities.
Yeah, you must have a political bias if you're going to believe that it didn't play over into his professional duties. And as I said, nowhere did he profess that his professional duties would be upheld. People in this position need to have honor, integrity, and be truthful people. I know a general who once said his family didn't even know who he voted for because in his role, he's to be non-political. That's how this should be. But again, he used his official phone that his superiors have easy access to, but he even felt comfortable doing that, knowing that someone could see what he has to say.
The president says that that should not be behind closed doors when Strzok appears tomorrow. You think it should be open to the public, that it should be televised, that we as the American people should see exactly what his explanations are?
I think ultimately, yes, but I'll be curious to see after tomorrow if there are leaks. Leaks in the line of what you just had to say where he's going to have his excuses as to how it didn't parlay into what he was doing professionally. We'll wait and see what happens after that tomorrow.
And would you call on him to step up to the microphones, to the media, before or after his testimony and explain himself to the American people on the steps of the House building?
Well, that might depend on who the media is these days, right? But I would hope that the American people, sooner rather than later, find out what has taken place and what this man and several others like him were all about. And the question comes in when it comes to the Russian investigation is, why was it launched to begin with? I hope we get an answer to that. But that goes back to the informants and everything else and all the information we want to know about that.
Yeah, finally, very quickly, do you suspect that the informants were sent out there to sic on President Trump for political reasons or because there was sincere worry and concern that there could have been Russian influence?
Well, I think that they should have to prove one way or the other which it actually was.
All right, Congressman Brad Wenstrup of the committee. We'll find out what Mr. Strzok perhaps says tomorrow as we await his explanations. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.